Hello guys, Hairshot here. So we're going to be going over some finds I've gotten at like 3 record stores over this spring break. Starting with Marshall Crenshaw. I got this one, it was Marshall Crenshaw, Mary Jean and 9 Others. I got this at Half Price Books in Plano when I was visiting my grandparents. I'm not going to go into details, but I was just visiting my grandparents. They live in Lubbock, but basically, I got this at Half Price Books. I was at Half Price Books. You might be wondering why. And I was there because Josie Records was not open at the time. So I decided to go here to pass the time, and I found this. And I've been looking for a Marshall Crenshaw record, and I figured I'd buy this. So that's that for that one. First off, I'll go over the one that Josie Records now. Oh wait, let's go over. Let's see. Yeah, let's go for Josie Records. We'll go over Josie Records finds. First off, we've got Bob Seger in the Silver Bullet Band. Live Bullet. It features songs that were played live, like Nutbush City Limits by Tina Turner, which ended up on one of Bob Seger's records. Turn the Page, which is from 1972. Bo Diddley, which is like it's multiple songs, but it's like I forgot the name of that certain thing where it's like multiple songs, but it's like multiple songs by Bob Dylan. A medley. It's basically a medley that was live. I don't think it was on any of Bob Seger's catalog, but then there's Ramblin' Gambling Man, which was from Ramblin' Gambling Man from 1960 something by not the Silver Bullet Band, the Bob Seger System. Then there's Heavy Music, which is by his previous band before that. Kathmandu by either Bob Seger or Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. So yeah. Although I feel like comparing them to the studio version would be very counterintuitive because they're both good in their own right, both the live and the studio. Like the live would bring out some certain things that the studio doesn't, and vice versa. So I don't think I want to compare the two because they're both good. Then the next record is let's put that there. Dokken, Breaking the Chains. The two songs that stand out on this record for me would be this title track, Breaking the Chains, and Paris is Burning, live in Berlin, December 1982. And the reason, obviously, Breaking the Chains is I'd say their hit, even though this record didn't do too well compared to their other records. I think that Paris is Burning really knocks that out of the park. Not only the solo or the song itself, even if Breaking the Chains is more of a single, but Paris is Burning in the case, it opens with this solo, like you have to hear it, but it's so awesome. It shows how amazing a guitarist that George Lynch was, even in that first record. Like he has his own sound, just like how Eddie Van Halen has his own sound, or Steve Vai has his own sound, or Randy Rhoads has his own sound. And I'm not going to compare any of them because they all have their own sound, they all have their own niche. So But let's just say George Lynch was he is an Axeman like any other shredder at the time, and that style of glam metal, hair metal, whatever. I think glam metal is a better term because hair metal is more of a. I think hair metal is more of the stuff that came later. But anyway, but last thing, Juan Crosier was bass player on this album. But he ended up being the bass player for Rat, so that was interesting to learn. And there's obviously Don Dokken and Nick Brown, who I think he had appeared on other Dokken records, but I wouldn't know him otherwise. The next up is Yellow Submarine by the Beatles. I mean, who can go wrong with this movie? I mean, obviously, there's certain tracks that appear on other albums, like Yellow Submarine, which is obviously the title of this movie and soundtrack. There's All You Need Is Love, which is a non-album single, rather. Finally got that on record, though, so that's good. And there's songs that don't appear on this soundtrack, like Nowhere Man was in the movie, I know that much. But it doesn't appear on the soundtrack. But then there's some albums, some some songs that don't appear otherwise, like Only a Northern Song, All Together Now, Hey Bulldog, and It's All Too Much. And there's the score, which features songs like Pepperland, Sea of Time, Sea of Holes, Sea of Monsters, March of the Meanies, and Pepperland Laid Waste, and Yellow Submarine and Pepperland. So yeah, it's half Beatles, half George Martin orchestra, the George Martin orchestra. But the track that stands out to me on the Beatles side, because that's probably where we all gravitate toward, is Hey Bulldog. That's pretty much, I'd say that was one of the, I've heard through the grapevine that this was one of the last, probably the last track that the Beatles, well, they've recorded other stuff together later, but this is one of the last times they were having a good time recording, I've heard. And that makes sense, because even by this time, they were kind of going through a lot of stuff. And this is one of the first, besides the White Album or the Beatles, that it has the Apple Records label on it. Also EMI, but that's that record. Next up is let's do this one, Pantera. The Great Southern Trendkill. This is one of their heaviest records, I think. In fact, probably the heaviest record by Pantera. I think it's heavier in a way than Far Beyond Driven. And as well as their fifth album, which is blanking my mind. But the songs that stand out to me is The Great Southern Trendkill, the title track, obviously, and Sandblasted Skin Reprise, and War Nerve. So this is the record that they were obviously not, especially Phil was kind of distant from them, from the rest of the three, Dimebag Darrell, Vinnie Paul Abbott, and Rex Brown. I think even I've heard that Phil Anselmo, he recorded his vocals in a different studio in Louisiana, where everybody else recorded in Texas. So things were obviously not going smoothly. Let's just say that. Next up, and completely different from the other, but let's just say if you're not a true let me phrase it this way. I feel like a true musician gives everything a chance. I listen to metal, rock, even jazz, classical, and I feel like I like to give everything a chance. Let's see. It's Mr. Mister, Welcome to the Real World. Their second album, and it's a really good album too. Certain songs that sound to me as Welcome to the title track, obviously. Broken Wings, that's kind of their hit. Kyrie is another hit of theirs. Uniform of Youth. Black/White. So yeah, compared to the first record, it's more experimental, and that was kind of their goal. Because when they did the first record, which I can't remember the name of, but it's a good album, and even the Richard Page, he's kind of the I wouldn't say leader because it's their band, but Richard Page is kind of the lead. He's the lead vocalist and bassist. He's kind of the guy that in a way, led the band. He said it was he said the first album was a good album, but they were kind of chasing trends in a way. But then there's the four guys, which includes Richard Page, Pat Mestelotto, Steve Ferris, that rhymes with Harris, Steve George, Steve Ferris being guitar, Pat Mestelotto being drums, and Steve George being keyboards and vocals, backing vocals that is. They created a sound that was pretty different from the very cheesy pop that was going on in the 80s. I'd say they're up there for me with the Outfield, and in a way, even though the Outfield in terms of the 80s is probably my favorite pop band, power pop band, or rock. I'd say Mr. Misery classifies as a rock band in a way. Like, they're not particularly one genre, whether it's pop or rock. Like the experiments really paid off in a way. Next up is XTC, Black Sea. That rhymed. I'm not gonna open this. Maybe I will. But anyway, it has this little outer sleeve, but they packaged it that way for some reason. But here's the vinyl itself. It has a little corner cut. I didn't realize that. But anyway, it probably sounds good. But, it has Generals and Majors, which is the song that always stood out to me on this record. This band in particular, I'd say they're up there in terms of experimentation where Tears for Fears is. They're pop, but they're not like cheesy, or they don't play the same four chords that everyone else does. Let's just say Tears for Fears likes to make a good album, like a full, really good, complete album, not just a single, not just a few singles. I'd say in a way, XTC is the same way. In fact, they are the same way. They like music over everything. And that's what I like about them, is that they want to make a good album and not just a few good songs, making it a really great. Well, you know what I mean. I'm gonna cut this up real fast. But anyway, this album, it may not be my favorite XTC album, but it still stands out to me as a album. One of the albums that before that, well, and at the album before that, they started going from a new wave band. It's a type of pop, it's pretty much post-punk in a way. A type of post-punk. I'm not gonna go into all these genres, but subgenres. But they went a more sophisticated direction. But anyway, one of the last things I want to talk about is this patch I got at Born Light Records, the Dead Kennedys. Now this band, first of all, I like this logo in particular. It's an interesting thing that they wanted to make it this way, was because the reason, even though Joe Biafra and the rest of the band are pretty much left wing, they're against fascism, they're against all that sort of stuff. In fact, they're against corruption. Joe Biafra wanted to make something akin to, in a way, that was as easily drawn as a swastika. Like something that you could easily make 4 lines, and that would be the logo. In a way, they did that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they did. And they're not Nazi sympathizers by any chance. In fact, the swastika was a Hindu symbol before Hitler stole it. And it's not the reason I like them. Their music, obviously, but they wanted to make every aspect of their band something, dare I say, controversial, and some like kill the poor. It's not about killing the poor. It's an ironic title, but it's about how the poor are being just set aside. And but same with Holiday in Cambodia. Holiday in Cambodia is about Pol Pot and his regime in Cambodia, or Kampuchea. Or California Uber Alleys. It's about, dare I say, it's a twist on dictatorship, which was happening in Nazi Germany in World War II. And Jerry Brown was one of the people they talked about. They made another song about it when it came to, I think it was Ronald Reagan. But that's that. And the last thing I want to talk about is I went with some friends of mine to the video game museum in Plano, and I got this set of stickers. The video game museum, among other things. I think this is the creature from Yard's Revenge, I speculate. And then this is obviously Yoshi, Sonic, and all that stuff. And then I got this t-shirt. Hold on. It has like I forgot the game name. I think it's like not Space Invaders, like I don't know, but I know what game it is. I just can't put my finger on the name. Or it might be Breaker. I don't know, but it has the Texas state shape on it. It has the logo, so I decided to get that. That's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. See you guys later.